This is the final research proposal for CM7010 called An Observational Assessment of Cell Phone Distractions in Work Zones by Michael Clark, a master's student for the LSU College of Engineering, Burt S. Turner Department of Construction Management. In recent years, much attention has been devoted to informing the public on the dangers of distracted driving through a variety of public initiatives to deter cell phone use while driving, with mixed results. In 2015, the National Center for Statistics and Analysis reported distracted affective motor vehicle crashes in the United States accounted for 3,477 fatalities. That's 10% of all reported fatal crashes, and an estimated 391,000 injuries. That's 16% of all injured people. Of these numbers, cell phone related activities were involved in 476 of the distracted affective deaths. That's 14% of all reported distracted affective fatalities. The same NCSA report showed that while overall distracted affective fatalities remained constant at 10% of all reported fatal crashes, the distracted affective crash fatalities involving cell phone use increased from 12% to 14% between the years 2011 and 2015. Drivers should note the majority of distracted driving fatality victims are more likely to be themselves or one of their passengers, but should be ever mindful of the danger they are to the public. Distracted driving can result from a wide range of driver inattention, including eating, dealing with passengers, applying makeup, shaving, reading, writing, and adjusting the radio or GPS. However, for this report, the term distracted driving shall refer to cell phone related activities including talking, texting, and browsing the internet from behind the wheel. Practice of using a phone while driving introduces additional hazards to the already dangerous environments that are highway work zones. Each year, work zones appear across the country as part of the ongoing process to maintain the integrity of the nation's aging highway systems and are not immune to the effects of distracted driving. According to the National Work Zone Safety Information Clearinghouse, from 2007 to 2016, there have been 6,671 fatalities, all causes, nationwide in U.S. work zones. Of that number, 1,181 deaths, at 17.5% overall, have been highway workers. With distracted driving becoming a growing concern, the dangers related to distracted driving are compounded in work zones. Across the country, transportation agencies conduct annual awareness initiatives to inform the public about the dangers of distracted driving in work zones and promote safety for both the travelers and the workers. So far, despite the publicity given to texting aversion and work zone awareness campaigns, literature indicates there has been minimal follow-up investigation performed to verify these programs' effectiveness. Notwithstanding the efforts dedicated to educating the public about distracted driving in work zones, sparse consideration has been given to test the effectiveness of these programs. By observing drivers in work zones, this research endeavored to discover the efficaciousness of introducing preventative messages of discouraging cell phone use in active work zones, and their effect on changing driver behavior toward using a cell phone while traveling through construction zones. The gaps and limitations resulting from lack of studies associated with cell phone bans and efficacy can only be mitigated through further research and investigation. Since neither work zones nor distracted driving will continue, the purpose of the proposed research will expand upon previously published reports to test the effect of cell phone aversion awareness programs in work zones to discover if preventative messaging campaigns will alter a driver's behavior regarding cell phone related activities in a construction zone. To conduct this study, the author coordinated with officials from the Ohio Department of Transportation to select 2 work zones in which to conduct a beta study to demonstrate feasibility for future research. For this beta, the author conducted traffic observations to determine the percentage of drivers engaging a cell phone while driving through interstate and urban work zones. The purpose of the observance was to count the number of drivers engaging in distracted driving behavior using a cell phone. To be considered a positive occurrence, the driver must exhibit one of the following behavioral characteristics: cell phone in hand, a cell phone at the ear, text neck, that's chin at chest looking downward, or averting eyes or glancing at lap or a neighboring seat. The author provided data reliability and validity by procuring both baseline and controlled data inside and outside the work zones to allow for comparison of the results. The baseline counts were performed to establish normal driver behavior, while the controlled observations introduced a portable message board with a public service announcement that denounced cell phone use in work zones. To conduct a complete study, the author recommends following the same premise as the beta, with the addition of performing observations at multiple work zones of varying types, using stationary cameras over manual counts through several time periods to establish reliable baseline counts. Similarly, the controlled observations would be modified to include a combination of signage and enforcement methodology using portable message boards, traffic enforcement cameras, and law enforcement checkpoints. These approaches would be tested in a variety of combinations to determine which procedure generated the best results of reducing cell phone usage per location type. The beta study produced mixed results between the two work zone locations. The Interstate 77 southbound work zone had a baseline count including all drivers, commercial and passenger, as 39 distracted driver and 724 non-distracted driver, showing 5.11% of the drivers through the work zone in an hour were preoccupied with their cell phone. The controlled observation introduced a portable message board approximately 1 mile before the work zone with a message stating, "Put down the phone in the zone." For the controlled observation, the author performed a 2-hour count and recorded the average of 40 distracted drivers and 496.5 non-distracted drivers, with an 8.06 distraction rate. This number demonstrated a 2.94% increase in cell phone usage within the work zone. The Dean Martin Boulevard State Route 7 urban work zone had a baseline count, including all drivers, of 101 distracted drivers and 660 non-distracted drivers, showing 13.27% of drivers through the zone in an hour were preoccupied with their cell phone. The control had a portable message board inside both transition zones before the activity zone with a new public service message stating, "Orange cones, no phones." For the controlled observation, the author performed a 2-hour count and recorded the average of 89.5 distracted drivers and 772 non-distracted drivers, showing a 10.39% distraction rate. This number demonstrated a 2.88 decrease in cell phone usage within the work zone. The reason for an increased distracted driving rate for one location and a decreased rate in another could be attributed to the placements of the portable message boards. Construction activities on I-77 pushed the portable message board to be located before an interchange. The author believes this factor tainted the results because an undetermined number of drivers passed through the zone without being exposed to the communication on the portable message board. Therefore, the effectiveness of the public service announcement cannot be verified. However, the introduction of the portable message board with the public service announcement did result in a 2.88% drop to 10.39% in observed cell phone usage at the State Route 7 work zone. This number was similar to the ordinary distracted driving work zone observation of 10.68 from the Dubé study from 2015. Even though 10.39% is still a concerningly high number of distracted drivers to contend with inside a work zone, the The reduction exhibited the presence of a public service announcement may have had an effect on a driver's behavior regarding cell phone use. Therefore, with a need for further improvement, DOT should consider performing an in-depth study beyond this beta to discover if this number can be further reduced. April has been declared Distracted Driving Awareness Month by the National Safety Council. Accordingly, departments of transportation across the nation launch media campaigns discouraging distracted driving and promoting work zone safety. However, currently there is little published evidence DOT's venture beyond high-profile photo ops to investigate the efficacy of performance of their programs in the field. Distracted driving in work zones is a real problem. In the course of writing this paper, an ODOT highway worker was struck and killed by an alleged distracted driver. This type of death is just what this study is trying to prevent. Often we can get lost in the numbers of statistics and forget those figures actually represent a mother, father, son, or daughter that leaves behind loved ones. This monument in this slide already had 160 names on it and must now add another. It should serve as a reminder to those responsible for safety programs that agencies should remain diligent in their quest of ensuring every reasonable method is being pursued to deliver a safe working environment for all. Highway workers already navigate a multitude of dangers associated with performing their daily construction duties, but now must contend with high-speed motorists deferring their prescribed duties of driving to send a text. DOTs must ensure their workers and the traveling public that their adopted preventative countermeasures are the most effective option available. This assurance can only be achieved by understanding the frequency of occurrence and which countermeasures provide the most significant reduction in use. This proposed research benefits the industry by closing the knowledge gap by directly studying driver behavior with regards to cell phone use in work zones, in conjunction with testing which countermeasures and enforcements establish the most reduction in usage per work zone type. As previously stated, studies already indicated the most effective prevention method comprised of a combination of high visibility enforcement in conjunction with an aggressive educational campaign. Therefore, by analyzing the results of different countermeasures targeted at deterring cell phone use in work zones, this study could help DOT shape policy and direct resources in their quest to provide a safe working environment for all. This concludes the presentation for an observational assessment of cell phone distraction in work zones by Michael Clark.